So I'm working on the Babylock Jazz sewing machine, and what I'm looking at here is the upper main shaft goes from the hand wheel side of the machine, and as it turns, it controls the pattern selector assembly, which does all these different patterns. It controls the gear for the lower shaft, which is controls the lower part of the machine. And it also controls the take-up lever that goes up and down and the needle bar that goes up and down. So it's a central part of the sewing machine. Now this shaft is quite long, and it's a polished steel shaft that goes through 3 bushings. It goes through a bushing on this end, in the middle, and on the other end is back behind here. Now these bushings are really important, and the way they work is because the shaft is polished steel, there's a bushing like this that the shaft can turn in, and these bushings are oil impregnated. They are porous material that are impregnated with oil, so as the shaft turns, it creates heat and creates friction, and that friction, when it creates the heat, lets the oil lubricate it so it can turn for long periods of time. So this machine has a bushing here, which looks good. The bushing on the other end looks good to me too, but this bushing here is looking a rather suspect, and I think because it's located near the belt that goes down to the bottom portion of the machine. There's a lot of tension on that belt, and it's pulling this shaft down really hard. So this bushing here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. If you look at the edge, there's some grease here that they've put in the factory. And if you notice on this side, the grease as it goes into the bushing is sort of black. It's a dark color, and that doesn't look good to me. Now, it could be something where what happens to these bushings is when they fail, when they start to fail, they scratch the steel of the shaft, and the soft porous part of the thing begins to break down, and it'll start oozing black goo out of the bushing, which is not really goo, it's just oil mixed with fine particles of metal that come out, and that appears to me what's happening here. But it may or may not be fatal. I'm going to take these 2 screws off, pull the cover off, and I'm going to move the bushing to the left, because it looks like the worst part is on the right, and see if I can see if the shaft is bad. There's nothing you can do about that. The only thing you can do is replace it, which means removing all of these pieces. You have to take the shaft completely out, which means removing the shaft from the balance. You can't see the balance in there. Well, you can. It's this crank here that's going round and round. It's a balance crank. And so take the shaft out of that and the collar, and remove all of these timing settings and stuff like that to take the entire shaft out, replace the shaft, put new bushings in, 3 new bushings with the new shaft, and then of course resetting all the factory settings, which is a big job. We don't want to do that unless we have to. And is the machine worth it? I don't know. I don't know what these cost new, but or we can just leave this the way it is, and hopefully it will go for a long time. It may have been like that for a long time, but it's definitely something that I have seen make machines grind to a halt. And this machine came in, and the first thing I said was, well, this thing is hard to turn, and it may be just because it's been sitting for a long time, but it could be this bushing. So we're going to find out, and we'll see if it's just worth it just to clean and service the machine, put it all back together, and let it ride. And it may work for years, it may not, but only time can tell.